Hello, folks. It's me. See the face? It's Buddy Martin. Glad to be with you tonight, folks. And the alarm was going off just in time. And I'm back. Remember me? I'm the guy who used to do the show all the time. And I'm back tonight. It's going to be a different kind of show because I took a 3 day, almost 4 day chill. And just, you know what? I'm going out of town, get away, go with some friends, and get other things on my mind besides college football and the Florida Gators. So I'm coming to this kind of cold for the first time, long time, and you can help me. I've got friends on board like Alec Peak Wilbur, always terrific, on everywhere now. She'll be joining us along with David Moulton, the anointed one, the guy who's gifted with much knowledge. And so just be us. Tonight I'll be relying on them to fill me in because I don't know what's happened much. I hear they lost the game last weekend. Yeah, I heard that. And it was pretty painful. I hear they play a game against Vanderbilt this weekend. So after that, I don't know. But come along with me and let's find out together. The Buddy Martin Show is about to be on the air. Once again, I'm back. Let's have fun. Come on, folks.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ? I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Hello. I've always wondered what it'd be like to come into a show almost totally unprepared. Yeah, we do prepared things on the show, believe it or not. You wouldn't know it sometimes, but we do. And tonight, I'm just getting back off the road after a nearly 4 day chill. Might have chilled a little too much because I got away from it all. After Saturday's game and debacle, I got in my car and I went someplace I haven't been maybe ever. And I enjoyed my trip immensely. I didn't watch much sports on TV. I went to a place near St. Andrews Bay around Panama City, met some friends there, drove up the old way on 27 with my friend Carswell, stopped in some little tiny places along the way. What a beautiful route that was. I'd forgotten that old route because I've always gotten on 75, I-10 West, whatever. Well, this is different. This is interesting and a really nice little visit to small towns. Had some great food, barbecue places. Did something totally different. Got out of the game of broadcasting and reading and writing college football for a few days. It was very helpful, but tonight I'm paying for it because I don't know a lot of what's going on, although I read like you do, the injuries, etc. And I wonder if it might not be time for us to reevaluate where we are on dealing with Florida football. It seems like a lot of hearts are being broken again. It seems like they're stuck in a rut. It seems like something's wrong and they can't seem to find the answer to fix it. This is not something brand new, by the way, folks. This has happened a lot over the years. I've been following college football, Florida football, for about almost 60 years. This is a familiar theme. We've seen this movie. Promise of great things, expectations blown up, team falls apart, and people think, what went wrong? Why did he lead us down this road? As I was thinking about this, they writing a piece that we were almost to a place where we felt like maybe Santa Claus was real. I mean, maybe even the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy might even be real. You get this Fantasyland mind of yours and think about, well, what's going on here? They told us this, we bought this, we didn't just drink the Kool-Aid, we jumped into Kool-Aid. And we do it to ourselves time after time after time. It hurts a lot of people. So you start thinking, what do I do about it? How do I deal with it? Do I just not ever have great expectations again for Florida football. You can't do that. That's not what it's about. And I don't like the answers I'm hearing or not hearing from Billy Napier. I do think Billy Napier is an excellent football coach. I do think his MO is a little confusing. We get to a point where we expect things to play at this. Remember the old story about the frog in the well? How he got out of the well? He jumped up 4 feet and fell back 3. Jumped up 5 feet and fell back 4. That's how it seems like Florida football is progressing. Not any quantum leaps. Now, I get it. There are people who have made this look a lot easier than what it is, namely Deion Sanders. They say, well, look what he's done. But hold on there. He is not there yet. Fantastic story, fantastic starts. I love what Deion's doing. But he ain't got a championship ball club, all right? So I don't know what makes that up, and the answer is not to go hire Urban Meyer. I know all of you want to, or some of you want to do that. As you know, I talk to Urban every Friday on his show, our show we do together, called The Best Fridays in Football. And I've talked to them about this a number of times, and Urban Meyer has zero interest right now in coaching, period. And if he did, Shelley would kill him. Now, having said that, there's that thing out there, well, go get Urban, pay whatever he wants. He can fix this thing. He's done it before, and I get that because you think, well, the guy we got is not getting it done. This is the old rent-a-coach mentality of Florida football, which is why we've lost so many fans over the years. Like, okay, are we going to do this again? Fire a guy again and go get somebody else? I don't know. It's confusing, perplexing, and all the above. And we're trying to figure it out just like you are. And when we get Allie Peak on in a minute, we'll ask her about it too. How do you deal with this? What do you do? What do you think? What we should do? And maybe, like I said, it's time to alter our expectations on Florida football. I don't mean throw it out or quit on them. Just think, where's the evidence that we thought, and I'm guilty. I plead guilty. I thought this team was going to improve. Myself and Shane Matthews talked about it a ton of times. We thought they were potentially going to win 8-9 games. And now we're back to square one. Not only is it not working, it's fear and trembling back again going on here right now. So let me tell you about this. We got a good show tonight. Of course, it's Sweet and Sour. Alec Peak and David Moulton. You can guess who's sweet and who's sour. We'll talk about nothing but, well, Florida football, but among other things. Allie, you can find her everywhere. She's on every podcast in America. I think she does 9 different podcasts a week. We're just glad to get her for a few minutes on the show. Always a highlight. First, I'm going to tell you about our fine sponsor. Then we're going right to see if the mother of 2 sets of twins is available. We can talk to her about what she knows a lot about, called Florida football. Titan MRI. Worth a short drive to Gainesville. No insurance is no problem. You can pay with cash or card with same-day scheduling available. You can start feeling better today because Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Come see why hundreds of patients are visiting our Gainesville offices from places like Leesburg, Ocala, the villages all over this part of the state, and find out what they know. Titan MRI is worth the drive to Gainesville. TitanMRI.com. All right, let's go see where Mrs. Peak Wilbur happens to be tonight. I have a feeling she's probably close to home because she stays pretty busy there with the family. It's great to see her again. Good evening to you, Allie.
Hey there. How are you, buddy?
Good to see you. Man, you are everywhere I turn. I've seen you on so many different podcasts. You must do nothing but podcasts from morning to night.
No, usually just at night when the kids go to bed, but
yeah.
It has gotten busy for sure, but it's
you
fun.
You did a great job, and you're refreshing, and many people like to have you on this show. Don't you ever leave us.
I'm not going to leave.
After you if you do. It's great to talk to you again. Well, look, you probably didn't hear the opening. I'm coming off a cold 3.5 day quit football, talking about it, writing about it, thinking about it. Had a beautiful trip. I just took off Sunday. And I don't know, last time you drove up the old 27 up 98 to go out to Pensacola or Panama Bay, but it's just a great drive to get away from the I-75, I-10 expressway mentality. You see real Florida. You see little stores, little restaurants and stuff. My friend and I at Carswell Ponder did that, and we had a fantastic time. So we went up there, and I went to see a friend and stayed there in a place called right on St. Andrews Bay, and with pelicans and gulls and all kind of stuff. And I didn't even bother. I didn't even bother trying to keep up with Florida football. When's the last time you did that?
The last time I've not kept up with Florida football for a couple days, goodness, I couldn't tell you when that is. But I have driven that way, but it has been many, many years. But it is beautiful. It's part of the, less touched or untouched part of Florida. And there's not much of that left.
Do yourself a favor, take the twins and go. It's
All
a
right.
beautiful drive. You stop at little places. There's places like Fan Springs. I didn't go there. I can't wait to go back there and have a picnic lunch there. They go through Perry and different parts of the state. And it's just a really pretty natural state of Florida drive. And then I didn't realize how beautiful Panama City could be, what they've done there. Some wonderful places and little restaurants and stuff. So it was a brand new experience. I'll go back there because it was really a real fun time. Now, having said that, I'm paying the price, Allie. I don't know what the hell's going on. So bail me out, will you?
The fan base is restless. The natives are restless this week. Florida didn't, fans didn't like what they saw. And I think I explained this on my show earlier this week. I don't think it's actually about the loss. We thought Florida was going to be a 7-5 team, more than likely, maybe an 8-4 team if they struck some gold somewhere. And we also, I predicted Kentucky would win the week of, but over the summer, we talked about it. We said Kentucky's probably a loss. So I don't know that it's the L that's the problem. I think it's the fact that Florida looked unprepared. They looked undisciplined. They looked like they didn't know what they were doing. And it didn't look like there were any in-game changes made to try and kind of get us on the right track. So I really think that is why everybody is so upset. We look lost right now. It's not about the L. It's about how bad we look.
Yeah, you're right. It's the way that they lost. They got manhandled physically. They couldn't physically compete with this team. They were beaten up like they were playing. It was like Florida playing Nebraska again at Fiesta Bowl. We just got beat up, and there were no answers, none. So
no, there. And when you look at the talent profile of this team, it's at 15 in the country. So what that's telling me is if you look at all the rankings of all the players across the country, Florida has the 15th best team talent-wise in the nation. Kentucky is mid-30s. So you can't, there's no reason to get manhandled by a team with, on paper, less talent than you have. You go up against Georgia and that happens, you get a pass. You go up against LSU and that happens, you get a pass. But you don't against a team that you are more talented than. And we are. There's no reason Florida can't beat Kentucky. Kentucky did things against us that they couldn't do against Vanderbilt, that they couldn't do against Akron, but they somehow did it against this Florida defense, who we thought was much improved.
I guess it's the how and the why that concern you, because we're looking for Billy for answers. I did hear a couple of bites here and there. And I heard the reaction after Edgar's question earlier in the week. A little bit of a tough question. Billy hasn't had any real tough questions.
Right.
He ask a few guys like Muschamp and Mullen, whatever, how they got barbecued. And Billy thinks that this is the Nick Saban way. You do it this way, and they don't bother you. No, this is Florida, and the reporters never stop coming. You can't just blow them off. And now he's getting a little sampling what it's like when it appears as though he didn't have a grip on his team and he's not delivering what we thought he was going to deliver. Now, I don't know, why. I just know he didn't. And so it's fair game, Allie. It's fair game now. That bug is eating me alive here.
If I had Billy Napier's ear, I would probably tell him he should get some media and PR training because some some of the reaction this week does also have to do with the things that he said in his press conference or his body language, or, when you say, like, you guys don't ask me these questions after we win. Well, no, we don't ask you about being terrible on the field after you win. You're right. But also, you've only won 8 times since you got here 2 years ago. So, I don't
like that feisty alley now. I like that. Bring it.
It's not an unfair question. And I think his response was unfair, though. Like, what he should have said is, you're right. We look terrible out there. Nobody hates it more than the people inside this building. We want to do better. We need to do better. We are always evaluating, and we promise you this product is going to improve. Give us some time. We're working on it. Just anything. Don't tell me, it's execution. Okay. If your team executes poorly time and time again, at a certain point, that becomes coaching. At a certain point, you can't blame your players because either A, they don't understand the system, it's not made for them, you're not getting through to them. I mean, something. But at a certain point, you have to look in the mirror. And he can say, you got to look in the mirror, but are you?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And this whole idea of falling on your sword, I take full responsibility. Yeah. That's why we're asking you about it. You take responsibility. Doesn't mean you don't have to change it because you take responsibility for it. Get it fixed.
I think, the thing that's frustrating for me, and Eric and I have talked about this in the house a lot, and you probably have with Urban too, is that when Urban first came to Florida, his ideal system it didn't work at the very beginning with Chris Leak. And during that first 05 season, he pivoted and he tailored the system to work for the players that he had.
He brought a fullback in the offense and changed the whole thing.
He did, Billy Latsko. And it wasn't his ideal system, but it was what worked with the players that he had as he slowly transitioned into what he wanted his offense to be as he built the program. And that is what we need to see. Billy Napier may have his ideal offense in his mind, and when he gets the right players in place, it might work. But that's not where we are right now. So are you going to get all the right people in place, and then you're going to end up fired because you didn't do something different? Like, adapt, change to the talent you currently have. And the long-term plan can be whatever it is that, this perfect offense is for you. But we don't have the personnel to run whatever you're trying to run right now.
Allie, look, we've said this 1,000 times. We know about the slow cooking mentality, the measure twice, cut once thing with Billy, and he moves slow and methodical.
Yep.
Is that the best style to have today? Because it looks like people are getting really impatient with it.
We live in a society that's what have you done for me lately? And that's not always a good thing. And I do feel like he is building the foundation of this program really solidly. There is an entire culture shift within the locker room. He has brought some incredible programs to these players off the field. I think that he is just lights out on the recruiting trail. But we need to see improvement. You don't even have to see more wins necessarily, but we need to see this team getting better. And we're not seeing that right now. And I think that his personality, his slow, calm, understanding demeanor is probably great 90% of the time. I don't know that I think it's great on game day. I do think Austin Armstrong is a nice compliment to that because at least there's someone losing their minds on the sideline for us. But his team doesn't seem to have any energy. They don't seem to have any hurry up in them, any get up and go. And it does make me wonder if that stems from the fact that Billy never seems to have any urgency from him. And this team has to have some. You're down 3 scores, and you're running the ball on 3rd and 11 and you're getting 4 yards out of it. Like, it's that kind of stuff. You're down 3 scores. What are you trying to lose by less, or are you wanting to win? Where are we here?
Mark Youngblood wants to know if you might be willing to coach, Ellie.
I just want to coach special teams, and I want to coach counting.
Yeah. Let me call plays, and you coach special teams, all right?
And counting. Hey, you got 13 men on the field. Hey, there's only 8 out there this time. Like, that in itself, when we talk about Billy being methodical and measure twice, cut once, how the hell do we keep getting the wrong number of people on the field?
That's killing me. That's killing me. I have no excuses, no patience, and no tolerance for that. Fix it.
13 men on the field. There was 2 whole minutes between that play and the play before. How literally were 2 guys not standing there going, "You're in my spot"? No, you're in my spot. Like, what was everyone that far out of position? They didn't notice that there were that many people on the field. That is the most infuriating part of all of this, is that you're telling me you're methodical, but nothing out of your actions are showing me that you are actually paying attention to details.
Yeah, if you're paying attention to detail, learn to count to 11. That would be helpful. And I don't know. I haven't heard a plausible excuse for that. I mean, I can. All right, I know. I give them one pass. They changed jerseys for earlier in the year, and they had 2 guys on. Whatever. But there needs to be one guy, Allie, of 100 on the field counting bodies.
You know what's the craziest part about that? So, he switches from 21 to 3, so there's 2 3s on the field. But there was also a 21 on that field. That means there would have been 2 21s if there were.
Either way, yeah.
So it makes no sense. But you have 1,000 people in your army. There's 3 people following behind you holding your coffee cup. We talk about how you have the largest staff in all of college football. There's not a single person acting as a spotter to make sure that there's the right number of guys on the field.
I say they ought to put the special teams punt safe hoisted on top of a stick and hold it out. People, look at this. Are you guys on the field right now? Look at the roster. What does it say? You're supposed to be. Who's not here? Who should be here? I mean, get it right, folks. Get it right.
Do you not practice your goal line defense either? Like, if that's, you should know who is on that. And also, by the way, we had 13 men on the field and they still scored.
Yeah, and I think that's embarrassing. Davis scored with 13 guys that couldn't stop him with 13 men. Now, give credit where it's due. Davis is a heck of a running back. He played great.
He is, but he had under 100 yards rushing against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, how do you figure that?
He's great. He is a talented player, but his numbers on Saturday do not in any way correlate to any of the previous games. That's how bad this defense was.
Yeah, true. All right, Allie, how do we go forward? We better give a survival guide to the fans here, because it's very upsetting. I don't want to see them walk away and stop being Gator fans.
Yeah.
But how would, you're like me. We're kind of invested as Gator people. We have been our whole lives. So we can't separate ourselves from it. We report and write, but we want them to win. We want them to win. So then the people have those expectations. They listen to us telling how good they're looking, what a great thing they can have. They say, well, where's this team I expect? How do we tell the fans, other than chill, you can't just say that, how do they deal with this?
It's never as good as it seems. It's never as bad as it seems. When Vegas says this team's going to win 5.5 games, they've won 3 already, right? And there's still half the season to go. I still think there's a great chance this team finishes with 6 or 7 wins. It starts by going out and beating Vanderbilt. It's a team that you need to win, that you lost to last season. It's homecoming. It's important. It's in the swamp. You get that victory. You can win at South Carolina. You have to, we have to get this road monkey off our back because we don't play well on the road, but South Carolina is beatable. You could go into Georgia 5-2. That's better than most people thought. If you go 2-1 against Tennessee, Kentucky, and South Carolina, I think that's okay. I think that is totally acceptable. It's still progress from what we saw last season. So, I don't think you give up yet. And we say in all kinds of weather, and we mean it, right? And he's been on the job not even 2 full seasons. If you fire your coach every 2 years, at some point you have devalued this job. Yeah. I don't know who you get, who wants it if they know they have a season and a half or the fans are going to bail on you. But it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be disappointed in what you saw on the field, and it's okay to want it to be better. It's not okay to attack coaches or players personally, which we saw happen this past week. It's, I wouldn't turn in my fan card just yet. We're still Gators, but there's still half a season left or 2/3 of the season left. We can still finish at 7-5.
I would say I agree with that. I think it's not Pollyannish to do that. You're invested mentally. I made a comment earlier today. The problem was that things are going so well after Tennessee. We're thinking, hey, Santa Claus is real.
Right.
And the Easter one, it could be real. And maybe the Tooth Fairy, man. This could all happen, You get a false sense of something. But let me just say a couple things. First of all, without a doubt, Graham Mertz was a good pickup. Very good player, and some people would criticize him. We're wrong about that. Secondly, Austin Armstrong is going to be a fine defensive coordinator, but he's not there yet. He's taking some medicine right now. Thirdly, there's some defensive upgrades, especially in the line, and some young linebackers who look promising. There are good things there. But you've got to hold it together with Bailey wire, or it'll all come apart. Now, this week, we're talking about injuries. You got 2 offensive linemen out now. I'm not surprised that ETN is IR'd. I think he's been hurt all year. I think that's why he hadn't played as much. I believe that's my theory. So, they got to go in there, Vanderbilt, and look like a football team. Get the snap count, get the right number of people on the field. That Mertz have a nice passing day, maybe pick up 150 yards rushing, get cleaned up, and get ready for the second half of the season. But there has to be progress. And when you see what we saw last week, the only word I think of is regression. They regress. It reminds me of the old story of the frog in the well, how he gets out. He jumps up 5 and falls back 4. Plus 1. And you keep falling back 4. So they got to figure out a way to jump a little better than that and not regress in the things they've already fixed, supposedly, and look like they know what they're doing. Is learn to count to 11, Allie.
Control the things you can control. You can control the number of men that you send on the field. You can control if you jump early. You can control, thank you to the Florida Gators for showing me 2 special teams penalties this season that I didn't even know existed.
Really.
Control those things first. Right. And then you go from there. In terms of ETN being hurt, honestly, I was almost kind of relieved to see him on the injury report this past week because it does explain a little bit. I think there were times when people are like, why is Johnson carrying the ball twice as much as ETN? And no offense to Johnson, who is very good, but ETN is, a special talent. But if it's because he was banged up, all right, Billy gets a pass on that. You definitely need him later in the season. Don't play him too much if he needs to rest up a little bit. I can wrap my head around that. That's good. And as far as Austin Armstrong, he is a good defensive coordinator. He is really young. Progress isn't linear. So our defense was great the first 4 games of the season. They were the bright spot out of, all 3 units. They had a bad day on Saturday, but had offense upheld their end of the bargain at any point, maybe it wouldn't have looked so bad. If special teams didn't get stupid penalties and directly cost points, it wouldn't have looked so bad. So the defense that has carried the water the entire season has an off day. That's more forgivable to me than the offense just being putrid all the way through, except for 2 quarters against Tennessee and, against McNeese State. So I blame them the least out of the 3 units for Saturday.
Yeah. It almost feels like I don't want to talk about recruiting right now. I want to fix the ones they got, But I know it's the lifeblood. I know we have to. The question, are you hearing these performances are impacting some of the guys they've got already on board? Will they start losing some of their good players in the class of 2024?
So I have not heard that yet. I have actually heard that recruits are being told there will be a new offensive coordinator next year. So
really?
I hope that's true. Hearing that's what they're being told. Hopefully that's the case. That would be smart. And, in terms of Billy hiring an offensive coordinator, I think he has 2 choices. Ultimately, it's his decision because it's his career. But either A, you stick with yourself as the offensive coordinator, and year 3 might be all the time that you're given. Because if there is 0 progress offensively after 3 years, there's really not any reason to think that there would be offensive progress after 4. So that's option A. Option B is you hire an offensive coordinator, and I kind of think the clock gets to start over for you a little bit then, because we are then going to say, all right, he has recognized there's a problem. He's come up with a solution for fixing it. Now we need to give him time for that offensive coordinator to install whatever system they're going to be, get used to the players, their tendencies, their talents, whatever else. So I do think that buys him grace, that buys him time. It shows the ability to be self-reflective. So those are his 2 options. And so while I don't know that we will force his hand, so to speak, that almost does force your hand. Do you want to be here? Do you want this to work? This is what's going to give you the best shot of this working long term.
Yeah, I think there's evidence already, and I know how coaches are protective of who calls plays. There's evidence, and I've talked to other coaches about this. The job is too big these days to be head coach chief recruiter,
Yep.
offensive quarterback, Gator, quarterback, call plays, recruit from the portal. It's too big. One guy can't do all that anymore. I asked Steve Spurrier if he could do that. He said no, he couldn't. He couldn't do it.
Right.
So he's got to fess up. There's more job than he can do. And I know he likes to control it, but it's got to change.
Do you want to be a head coach or do you want to be an offensive coordinator?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you call plays, you'll be an offensive coordinator, but it's not going to be at the University of Florida, and you're not going to be a head coach. So something does have to give, and I don't think it's a sign of weakness to say I have on too many hats to do all of these jobs well. You are spread too thin. But one thing I would love to see the rest of the season, and I'm going to pay attention starting on Saturday to this, is how often Billy has the headset on and who is talking to him. Because I think a simple change would be if Billy Gonzalez and Russ Callaway just get to weigh in as the play calling is happening. It's still the same play caller, but maybe there needs to be somebody in the booth who's looking down saying, hey, this is what I'm seeing from the bird's eye view. Let's try this instead, and at least just weighs in. I know they weigh in during the week, and I think they have a part in the scripted plays that happen at the beginning, which is generally when we're at our best. Billy gets into bad tendencies and is pretty uncreative when he is calling it as the game progresses and things don't go the way he wants. But it's good when it's scripted at the beginning. So just allow that collaboration to continue to happen as the game goes on, and we might see some improvement that way.
100%. We'll bring David Moulton in just a second. Here's what's wrong with this picture. When they huddled on the sideline to call a key play on third down, the offensive coordinator is not in the picture. Rob Sale is never there with the quarterback.
Right.
How can he be the offensive coordinator if he didn't talk to the quarterback?
Yeah,
and that's a myth. He's not. He's a good coach. They want to pay him more money, gave him a title, but the offensive coordinator is not Rob Sale. That's my opinion, at least.
Right.
Let's see what the sour end of the stick feels about that. Bring in David Moulton. Always got to see David again, and he is the sour part of the equation. A sweet and sour. Look at that. Look at that face. Is that sweet or is that sour?
Listen, I think everyone in Gator Nation's sour this week.
I think you're right. You are.
I don't know how much sweet there is this week.
Yeah, you and Alex got a little edge to her tonight, so I like that. So. Well, Taylor,
33-14 will do that.
Yes, it will. And then getting worse instead of better. I think you're getting and just actually being embarrassed and get your butt whipped physically like they did. It was embarrassing beyond. All right, David, Allie and I have been talking a while on it. Say good evening to your partner there, the sweet part, and let's let's get this thing going from your perspective. What you see, what you saw, what you think, and where is this thing going? And we'll follow your lead.
Well, Saturday was alarming because now Saturday makes the first half of the Tennessee game look like that's the aberration. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. Now, if you really want to go back, Utah, okay, they're a little overwhelmed, injuries on the offensive line, they made some mistakes. Their performances against the two lesser teams that they played, you almost have to wipe out. They played a terrific first half offensively against Tennessee. They played a really good defensive game against Tennessee. So, but Saturday was bad. I mean, Saturday was like their play clock was at 7:00 at night, and they didn't realize the game was lunch. They were embarrassed, and I agree with the two of you. I've been listening for the last 5 minutes. I do think that Billy needs to give up play calling. First off, he's not great at it. He's not. He's not a great play caller. He's not a gifted play caller. He can find, with all due respect, Billy, you can find somebody at your level of calling plays. When you guys were talking about who he should go to and seek advice from, I'm not kidding. I'd go have lunch with the HBC. I would say to him, what do you see? Can you stop by practice for a couple days to take a look at our personnel and then tell me, leading into South Carolina, some of the stuff that you think would work? Because, I mean, listen, he's one of the 5 best play callers that's alive. I mean, I honestly think Steve could grab Napier's playbook and be ready to go for South Carolina. I really do. He is a legendary play caller. and he will be until he's no longer with us. I mean, and I think if nothing else, Billy and his offensive staff could use 1 hour of listening to Steve say, well, this is kind of how I see it, and this is kind of the way I would attack, even though, this isn't exactly the 96 Gators here, but trust me, we can make more out of what you got than what you're doing.
Ellie?
Can I read you guys one thing?
Yeah.
Listen to this. This is just a couple sentences long. This is an article written about Billy Napier in 2011. His lack of success in 2010 was due to his predictability on offense. The play calling was conservative, and his offense failed to develop any kind of identity at any point during the season. His tendencies were easy to read. The playmakers and personnel knew if the play was under center or if it was a run. If it was in shotgun, they knew it was a pass. Those tendencies, coupled with conservative play calling, equaled the dismal, below-average offense that would end up with a losing record of 6-7. Could that not have been written last year or this year?
I think it could, David.
No question. And I understand, you don't think you have a whole lot that's dynamic on offense, but clearly still, though, they're holding what they do have back. They do.
Mm-hmm.
And if nothing else, guys, I mean, all of us, I mean, Allie, if you're struggling professionally, aren't there people that you trust to say, hey, can I bounce some stuff off you? Okay, what do you think of this? I mean, buddy, I know, you do that all the time. And goodness knows, I've done it dozens of times. I mean, the other thing that concerned me was how he handled the presser.
Yeah.
I thought he was like one step away from Jim McElwain. I'm like, dude, you got to chill out. You got to realize this is not acceptable here. And you just got to swallow hard and take it, whether you think it's your fault or not. That's why you're making what you're making. It comes with the job there, big boy. Okay? Suck it up.
That's why you get paid $7 million plus a year, is to stand in the paint and take the hard questions. And I thought, I mean, I think I said it to Buddy, but like, he needs some PR training. He needs some, because the way that he stood up there and what he said made Gator fans more mad instead of less mad. And,
yes.
He said the words, this is my fault and I take accountability. But then he said things like, you don't ask these questions when I win. And, it's just about execution. Well, if your players can't execute over and over and over again, it's not about execution anymore. It's about what it is that you're telling them to do. And you are not adapting. And, the old saying, like, don't pee down my leg and tell me it's raining. Don't tell me that you're working and improving and things are going to be different and you've made tweaks and then come out and do the identical things game after game after game.
The other thing, and I think we're all in agreement on this, he has to do whatever is necessary to see year 4.
Yes.
All right. His plan is not going to break through and work big until year 4. Sure. I mean, even if he gets in this hotshot freshman quarterback, his roster is still not what the top half of the conference's roster is. Maybe, and they're not going to get a break in schedule. In fact, next year's schedule is harder than this year's schedule. 11 Power 5 teams. I mean, his boss is trying to get him fired, for goodness sakes, with that schedule. So he's got to make it to year 4. And performances like last Saturday and press conference performances like that have, in the world that I think exists, the money people start talking and they're like, so are we going to support this guy till year 4 or are we going to get rid of him now? Because that's really the decision that everybody needs to make. We going to cut bait in the next 8 weeks, or are we in this through 2025?
I think that when he was hired, I think he was told, hey, you're going to have the time you need to develop. And I think that I think in his mind, he's got at least 4 or 5 years. And I think he should get that. But the caveat is there has to be some kind of growth and some kind of improvement. If he calls plays year 3, more than likely year 3 looks like year 2. I agree with you that I think year 4 could be that difference, but I don't think you get year 4 if you get a year 3 that was just like year 2 and year 1. And that's the problem. So
Yes.
in my opinion, the answer is you hire an offensive coordinator. The clock kind of starts over a little bit. You've got grace. The fan base says, all right, he realizes that he was wearing too many hats or that wasn't the best use of his skills, but he's a great CEO. He's a great recruiter and he's a great mentor to these players. So we're willing to take those 3 things and then hope that he hits on his next offensive coordinator. And, I think Gator fans, you wanted Dan Mullen fired because he wasn't a good CEO and he wasn't a good recruiter. He was a good offensive play caller. So now we're sitting here saying, well, do we need to get rid of him? He's not a good offensive play caller, but he is all the things that you hired him because you thought he was. He's just not a good offensive play caller. So hire one.
Let's examine what David said about Spurrier. There's a huge gap between what Spurrier does, as you say, and what Billy's doing. Because it isn't just a matter of coming up with a great play in the fourth quarter or third quarter, pulling it out of your hat. Every good play caller sets up the calls with the plays they run earlier in the game. Spurrier would set you up. He's going to go right, left, give you another look. And so it's such an intelligent approach to play calling. It isn't like you can say, let me guess what I can use on 3rd and 4 in the third quarter. No, it's you ran those 2 plays in the first half to set this call up. Well, that's the difference in Spurrier.
The other part of his genius is that, quite frankly, his plays are often very simple. Like when he went to Orlando in the AAF, he was running the very same stuff he was running at Duke in Florida nearly 30 years earlier. And it was wildly successful because the principles are exactly the same. I mean, they really are. The draw on a certain down and distance still works. The screen at the right time works. Perfect. Okay, one guy runs the post, the one guy runs the in off of it. It's one of those two's always open against a certain defense. I mean, it's very simple stuff. It will work till the end of time. And quite frankly, I could see him looking at this offense and going, well, the line's good enough. The tailback's good enough. There's one wide receiver I got confidence in. I can get us 7 more points a game than what you're doing right now. I can open it up just a little bit more. Okay, protect the defense, and I can get us 7 more points than what we're doing right now.
He also takes risks, though. And I think that is the difference with Napier. And that's what was so frustrating. I went through all of our 3rd down plays this past week, in one of my videos. And I had so many people that were like, you're discounting situational football. And she doesn't know football because she's not taking into account of where that 3rd and 18 is. If you are down 3 scores, I do not really care where that 3rd and 18 is. You have to try something, because are you trying to lose by less or are you trying to win? Your defense is stopping nothing and you are down by 3 scores. What do you need to do? You need to throw the ball at least to the first down marker and make a try. And if it doesn't work, guess what? Then it's the same thing as running, 4 yards on 3rd and 18 too. So what is the harm in attempting?
Throw the ball on first down, first of all. Watch Spurrier. Throw the ball on first down. Secondly,
by the way,
when you set up your offense and you set up this is the pattern of Spurrier. He threw a lot, tried to get up on the team early. And the second half was Eric Rhett. Look what a fantastic running game he had with Eric Rhett. It's not they don't have a good running game. It's just they're not using them the right way.
Do we think of Georgia as a wide open offense? No. Georgia throws the ball. 50 to 51% of their passes this year are on first down. I mean, think about that. That's with a new quarterback. They do not have a Pickens at wide receiver. They've only got one tailback. Their line's not nearly as good as it was the last 2 years. Now, I mean, Bowers is one of the 3 best players in college football. He's amazing. Okay, but you know what I'm getting at here. This is Mike Bobo even, who's been criticized in the past, and Georgia fans are concerned about Mike Bobo. Let me tell you, Alabama and Gator fans would kill for a Mike Bobo right now calling plays.
Go ahead, Allie.
I mean, it's there has to be some creativity. There has to be some shakeup. And, as I sat here and complained about third down, it is the 2 downs that got us there. Why are we being so conservative on first down? Take a shot. And you know what? If it doesn't work on first down, throw it again on second down and then run the ball on third down. Just try something, anything different. We are one-dimensional right now, and every team we play knows that we're one-dimensional. So it's pretty easy to telegraph exactly how to stop us. And Napier has got to be willing to adjust. He's got to be able to take what the team gives him. And that's the other thing that I don't think he does. I think the playbook is exactly the same, the game plan, every single week. I don't think it matters who we're playing. And that is the problem. If you look at, let's say, Urban, we've talked a lot about Steve, Urban's game plan for Tennessee is going to look absolutely nothing like Urban's game plan for Kentucky or Urban's game plan for Georgia. That doesn't feel like what we're getting right now. It feels like we're getting, this is our offense. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. This is the way we're running it. End of story. And it's not working.
And the reason that coaching matters, like Kentucky didn't show a lot of what they showed the Gators in the first month of the season. All right.
Mm-hmm.
It's why I think they caught the Gators, especially for the first half, totally off guard. I think the Gator coaches and players went into the locker room and said, well, that wasn't the scheme we saw in the first 4 games of this year. That's coaching.
He wanted to run it on us. I mean, that whole week leading up to it, there's multiple Stoops quotes where he says, we want to run the ball. Why do we talk at face value on that?
But they did it differently. It's like Auburn threw something different at Georgia this week with a running quarterback, not their running quarterback, their throwing quarterback. And it threw Georgia off. I mean, they ran for over 200 yards against Georgia. That's the value of coaching, even without great personnel. And I could see why Gator fans are frustrated. They're like, hey, man, we pay you a lot of money. We need you to steal some points here. We need you to steal some first downs.
And it didn't look like we adapted as the game went on. I think that Florida's defense was hit in the mouth in previous games, and you watched Austin Armstrong adapt. We saw that on the first series against Tennessee. We saw times where, for a minute, we didn't know what they were doing, but then we adapted and we figured it out and we got better. We didn't see that from the defense this game, but we have at least seen it before. I don't think we've seen any offensive adjustments yet this season, though. We've had a couple good offensive quarters, and that's about it.
One thing I do not like about what I see from, and you both touched on it, is a great coach knows how to adjust and adapt. Mm-hmm. I don't see a lot of that going on. If something's not working, I don't see Billy changing. It doesn't seem to have an answer for that. And he kind of comes at it with rote, like, this is the playbook. I'm going to run it like this. And by the way, if they got an 8-man up front with 3rd and 4, I'm still going to run the football, whatever. I just don't think it's clever enough to fool anybody. And, you certainly can't finesse everything, but there's no trickeration in there. There's no imagination in there. There's no adaptability. They couldn't figure out how to run the football, and they never did. So I'm thinking, is this guy a good game day coach? Now, look, I'm really trashing Billy tonight. I don't mean to. I like him. I think he's a smart, dedicated guy. If given the opportunity to coach here and do for the next couple of years, he'll probably coach here 8 or 9 years and be successful. But what we're seeing right now, we know better because we saw Urban, we saw Spurrier, how they did it. And that's a tough call for him. It's a tough thing for him. But it's true. He's got to score points. He's got to get the right personnel. He can't have 13 guys on the field. That's just really bad. So it looks like, if anything, David, the team has begun regressing instead of getting better.
Well, my first comments, I mean, really, the Tennessee performance is now the aberration. That's how bad the Kentucky performance was. That now we're looking at what they did against Tennessee and going, wow, so is that not the team we're going to see going forward? We thought that was the beginning of the foundation of what we were going to see going forward. And at the very least, we were going to see that against Kentucky. And then we would see it again against South Carolina. I think Gator fans have to be scared. What the heck are we going to see between now and Georgia? When I don't think that's how they felt Saturday at 11 a.m. I think they were thinking that, okay, this team's limited, but, we're going to play hard. We're going to be fundamentally sound. Okay, this is 2 evenly matched teams. This is going to be a really good game. Might come down to a turnover, one big pass play. Who's going to make it? And then it's like, oh, my goodness, we just got humiliated, and we got punched in the mouth, and we didn't handle it at all. I mean, there is nothing to take out of that game. Nothing, not one thing to take out of that game and hang your hat on going forward. I mean, it's like you can lose 7-1 in hockey, but if you score the last goal, okay, you at least go, well, okay, we slowed them down the third, we scored, we'll be better tomorrow. There is nothing you can take out of that game. Wow.
All right, I'll ask you both the same questions. Why do you think Napier has to decline the opportunity to get a special teams coach in there? We all know better. I mean, Urban Meyer was the special teams coach. He acted not just in name, he coached the special teams. How much more emphasis can you put on that? Do we get the feeling he's just not putting the right emphasis on it? Or nobody wants the job? Why isn't he adapting? First, David, go ahead.
I mean, listen, Allie, I don't know the answer. I would love to ask him one question because I don't know the man. All right, but I would love to ask him one question. And it would be a tough one, and he wouldn't like it. But I would say, so you're reluctant to have an offensive coordinator and you're reluctant to hire a special teams coach. Is this ego? Why? And I'm sure he'd bark at me and what have you, but right now, from the outside, that's what it looks like. It looks like, I know I'm smarter than you. Shut up. Don't question me. Well, okay, if you're nationally ranked and you've turned the program around and you're winning, well, okay. But when you went 6-7 last year, and what's your record this year? I mean, you're 9-9 in 18 games, buddy. Okay, and can we count the Power 5 wins amongst the 9 and say them out loud? Okay, it's like a handful of them. So, I think I could see where Gator Nation is like, listen, man, it's not working. This ain't Louisiana. Okay? I mean, it may have worked. It may have gotten you the Florida job, but this is the SEC. Nick Saben is a special teams coach. Nick Saben has 2 coordinators and always have, by the way. Now, Nick will emphasize the DBs in practice. He will coach the DBs hard in practice. But whether it was Muschamp, Kirby, Nick doesn't call the defensive signals. He tells the DC what he's thinking, but he doesn't call the defensive signals. If Nick Saban's not the defense coordinator of Alabama, how do you justify being the offensive coordinator of Florida?
Jimbo Fisher won a national championship calling his own plays as a head coach, and he was forced to hire an offensive coordinator this season. So, I don't think that Napier should be beyond reproach there for that. But you're right. Everything that we know about Napier from what we've been told from the University of Florida and, conversations that have happened over the summer that, profiles on him and things like that, he comes across as so level-headed, so calm, and without ego. But then we go into these press conferences and, not only the way that he comes across in the press conference, but the inability and the unwillingness to do something different sends a different message about what his ego is than what we've heard, all along. And I feel bad because I like Napier. I want Napier to succeed. I think he is a good person. I think there is a good foundation being built there within the program itself, but this isn't working. And the special teams part is incredibly frustrating. We had Chris Couch, who is a special teams analyst, working with special teams. And then I guess Napier works with them. But I think at the end of the day, as a college football head coach, you either think special teams are important or you don't. And right now, I don't believe that Billy Napier thinks special teams are important. And I don't know if that's because he thinks there's so much work to do offensively and defensively that there's just not even time for that third aspect of the game, or what the issue is. But the only time that you can not really pay attention to special teams is if your offense and defense are so good that it doesn't even matter what happens out there with special teams. And that's certainly not the situation that we're in right now. But I don't think an emphasis is being put on it. You can't tell me that all of these mistakes happen if you are putting the right emphasis on special teams. And, maybe if Napier gave up play calling, he could focus on special teams, and that could be something that they could excel at. I would look to anybody else on staff to work with special teams for the rest of the season. It should be a guy on the field. Some analyst up in the booth that is not, and maybe that's the problem, right? They're not getting the right personnel out there because the communication's not coming down. None of your specialists are having a headset on. So at that point, he's communicating to somebody with a headset who's then relaying the message. So maybe if he's standing right there, he can communicate to his special teams players. But try something different. Special teams has directly cost you points almost every single game this season. We watched that leaping penalty, next play, 75-yard touchdown run. We are directly costing us points on special teams. How many field goals and extra points do we leave on the field the first couple games of the season? And who the hell is the person that didn't put Smack on the field to begin with? Mahalik was getting kicked and missed because they were kicked so low. And it happened every single kick. I watched my husband almost have an aneurysm every single time because every single kick was low, which means that's the way that it was happening at practice too, which means there was a low chance that they were going to be made and there was a high chance that they were going to be blocked. Why was there not somebody there noticing all of those things? And I think the answer is that they don't actually care about special teams, but that's a mistake.
Well, she's right. And the question is, who's minding the store?
Mm-hmm.
Who is the head coach? Who is the special teams coach? Who is the offense? Here's a question I have for you guys. I'm going to take a quick break. If this doesn't get a bit better, like they can't lose to Vanderbilt, if this doesn't get better and they're still doing this in the last 3 or 4 games of the season, how secure is Billy Napier's job?
He's very secure.
Hold on, don't answer it yet. I want to go this. That's a tease, David. I want to go trade this spot real quick. Come back, and then you can answer that. Thank you, Jeffrey, you do a show where you ask a lot of questions. I've got one for you right now, okay, regarding how do you know whether your case is being handled right and what to do about it. In medicine, you can get a second opinion if you're not satisfied with the doctor's opinion that they have. And do you have that in law? Can you do that with lawyers?
Yeah, buddy. As a matter of fact, we get quite a few calls from folks that have signed up, particularly with the big box law firms, that they do a hell of a good job of putting ads on TV. But after that, they don't really measure up to the way we try to create a client experience that's outstanding. And we're always willing to review a case and give a second opinion, just like with a doctor, because not all law firms are created equal.
I guess that's the normal thing. Just go to Meldon Law, Google it, and find out, and just give them a call. And like you say, if you come in, you get to see a Meldon. You don't get shuffled off to somebody else. You get to see a Meldon, and that's good to know because a lot of people don't know how to do that stuff, like me. And maybe you can coach us through. So Meldon Law, they won't back down. They will take your questions about your case if you have a question. Special guests we got us are tonight, David and Allie, the Sweet and Sour Show. I asked a question before we took a break. If things don't get better soon and Billy's teams continue to make this mistake in the last, let's say, 4 games of the year, would Billy Napier be in trouble? David, you're going to answer that.
Scott Strickland doesn't get to fire and hire 3 coaches. So unless you think he's also going out the door with them, which I don't, I think Billy Napier is very safe. There's no way Scott Strickland gets to fire Napier and hire his replacement. No way. I mean, you find me the athletic director who gets to fire and hire 3 football coaches. No way. So that's why Napier's safe. Okay. And it's not the money, even though it's a fortune, because let's face it, there's a lot of rich Gator alums. And if they really want the guy gone, they'd come up with the money. But I just think it's the fact that if you're blowing Napier out, you're blowing up the entire athletic department. And I don't think that would be a wise move. But Billy just needs to make life better on himself, and he's not doing it.
I think Napier is safe regardless of how this season ends up. I actually am of the opinion that Strickland has a hotter seat than Napier even has. And so I think you're right that he doesn't get to hire and fire 3 football coaches. If Napier doesn't make it, neither will Strickland. It'll be a new athletic director that makes that hire. But, that's almost a different topic. But this is what I think. After this season, if let's say we only win 1 or 2 more games the rest of this season, after this season, what Billy decides to do will determine how hot that seat is. If he does not hire an offensive coordinator and he says, I'm going into year 3, I'm still calling the plays, it's going to work this year, the seat will be very hot. A true freshman quarterback and the hardest college football schedule in the country is not the year to be sitting on a really hot seat. So if he gets an offensive coordinator, he gets time, he gets grace. He can have a terrible 3rd year because of that schedule and the combination of a freshman quarterback and all of those other things and a new offensive system getting put into place. But it's all going to be based on the decisions he chooses to make in the offseason.
I would agree with both of you except for one thing. This is the new time we live in. I know for a fact there have been discussions from the alumni people in past weeks that they're not willing to pay this NIL money for this product. What happens now today is different than what happened 5 years ago. If they pull the NIL money, they're toast. They can't lose those recruits. So I don't know how that works exactly, but what I'm hearing is there are people perilously close to being willing to pull out their water or cancel their checks because they don't see progress. And that's a different thing than it used to be. David?
And if any of them are listening right now, that would be beyond foolish. Okay. Get the kids, get them in school, get them on campus, get them in helmets and shoulder pads. All right. Let them play for a year under Napier. And then if you want to get rid of the coach, if you're doing it the right way, most of them will stay. Some will leave, but most of them will stay. Okay. You get rid of Billy Napier now, that quarterback's not coming. You can book it.
Well,
he ain't coming.
I kind of think this 2024 class is maybe the canary in the coal mine, right? If this class holds together and they all sign either in the early period in December or, in February at the final signing day, I think that bodes well for Napier. I think that means that the things that we're hearing that he's telling recruits about hiring an offensive coordinator are probably true. I do think if this class starts to fall apart before they get on campus, it is not a good sign for the overall health of Billy Napier's program.
No doubt. Because that's the kid saying, I don't think he's going to be here very long. I might as well leave now.
Yep.
He's sour, she's sweet. It's a sweet and sour combination. I love it. As usual, guys, you're both great tonight. Thank you very much, David Moulton and Allie Pete Wilbur.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night. All right. Thank you very much. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up with our message from Rinstar here. And we're going to say good night and get ready for tomorrow's show. Orange Blue Blood Thursday. Ben and the guys will be back. We'll talk more about what else. This is right here. It's nice to be back again doing this show. I want to thank Brendan Martin for the great work he did on this program while I was out of town. I know you enjoyed it. Now, look, we all have different opinions, and we don't always agree with you. And sometimes you want us to be more cheerful and cheerleading-like, and we're not. This is the nature of the beast. So, again, thanks to Brendan for a terrific job. I want to tell you about Rinstar Medical Research here, our fine sponsor from Ocala. They've done an amazing job in our community, and they've done an amazing job of supporting this program over the years. So they have a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility. They bring cutting-edge clinical research trials to Ocala in things like Alzheimer's, dementia, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, fibromyalgia, many other things that affect our people in this area. Since their inception in 1998, Rinstar participated in more than 700 clinical research trials, continue to support and partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. If you want to be a part of some of these trials, go to rinstar.net, look at their what they've got, information on how you can qualify. In some cases, you'll be able to qualify for payment for time and travel. Rinstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thanks to David Moulton and Alec Pete Wilbur. Thanks to the big crowd tonight, folks. You were great. You're awesome. Back tomorrow night with the same kind of stuff right here on The Buddy Martin Show. We hope to see you then.